Hello, and welcome to Nostalgia Marcana. I'm your host, Doug Lief. Each episode of this podcast, we'll look back on the movies, TV, games, people, and phenomena that we still love talking about all these years later, and ask ourselves why these bits of pop culture still enchant us today. This week, we'll be revisiting...
When the course is laid and the anchors weighed, a sailor's blood begins racing. With our hearts unbound and our flag unfurled, we're underway and off to see the world. Underway and off to see the world. Hey-ho, we'll go anywhere the wind is blowing. Manly men are we, sailing for adventure on the deep blue sea.
Safely now, Mr. Silver. Let's not get sloppy just because we're singing.
Danger walks on deck, we say what the heck. We laugh at the perils we're facing.
Every storm we ride is its own reward.
And people die by falling overboard.
People die by falling overboard. Hey-ho, we'll go anywhere the wind is blowing. Hoist the sails and sing.
Sailing for adventure on the big blue wet thing.
Ahoy, mateys! This is a really fun episode that I think you're going to like. We are talking about Muppet Treasure Island today. This is our first visit to the world of the Muppets, and it's an interesting pick for which one to do, because I don't know if it's one of the most popular Muppet movies. Certainly there's a lot to choose from. I'll get out ahead of this. I love the Muppets. I am wearing my Electric Mayhem t-shirt already for this. And I'm ready to go. I cannot promise I will avoid doing too many Muppet voices today. I apologize in advance because that's going to happen. But I'm not doing it alone because I honestly don't know a lot about Muppet Treasure Island coming into this. This is my first time watching it. So fortunately, I have a guest here who can help me. He's going to help put his hand up my back and make my mouth move for this, because he knows this property very, very well. So please welcome to the podcast our guest for today, Josh Covel.
Hi-ho, everyone. That was a bad Kermit impression, and thank you for having me on, man. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, hi-ho, Josh.
Hi-ho. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Yay!
Yay! Josh, you are the host of the Still Loading podcast. Do you want to tell our audience what Still Loading is all about?
Sure. So Still Loading is kind of I describe it as a gaming grab bag podcast. I do a little bit of everything on it. I do episodes on, deep dive game retrospectives on individual games. I cover wider topics like video game preservation and history. I also do interviews with people in the industry like voice actors and composers and game devs. And then I do weird ideas like the Final Fantasy draft, which is what happens when you take Final Fantasy and fantasy sports and mash them up together. And no, you do not need to know fantasy sports or how they work, or even just sports ball in general. You don't need to know any of that to enjoy the Final Fantasy draft. So yeah, that's kind of Still Loading podcast. I describe it as a grab bag because it's got a little bit of everything, but it's all revolving around the love of games. So that's Still Loading. Well,
that's awesome. We definitely cover a lot of video games on this show because I sure love them. But let's talk about Muppet Treasure Island, because I like I said, this was a blind spot for me. I've seen most of the Muppet stuff. This one I had not. Tell me why you wanted to do Muppet Treasure Island in particular.
So when you invited me on and asked me for a list of things, I actually tried to purposely stray away from games because I love video games. I do a podcast about it, but that's all I get to talk about on podcasts is video games. That's why I started for my patrons. I'm doing a James Bond series, so I have an excuse to talk about stuff that I don't normally get to talk about. And while there is actually, believe it or not, a Muppet Treasure Island video game for PC, it's like a point-and-click adventure, very few people I know have played it. And in general, very few people in my circle, since I don't get to talk movies all that often, talk about the Muppets in general. So I had to put this on here because it's actually my personal favorite Muppet movie. I'm not saying it's the best because I haven't actually seen every single one, so I can't really say definitively, but it's my personal favorite out of the ones I've seen. And it's a huge nostalgic thing for me, man. Like my brothers and I, we grew up watching it. In fact, it's funny, for a number of years, I hated this movie because my younger brother watched it every day. We had a VHS of it, and he would watch it every single day for like a solid, it felt like 2 years. at least once a week for 2 years, it felt like. And by the end of that, I was like, I hate this movie. I don't want to ever see it again in my life. And then, as kids do, they grow in and out of phases. So my brother stopped watching this every single freaking day. And then years later, I went back on it. I'm like, wow, I still remember all the songs from this. I actually remember a lot of the specific lines and some of the jokes. And as an adult watching it, I was pleasantly surprised that A, the songs are actually really good still. B, the jokes still make me laugh. There's a couple that I'm excited to shout out when we get to them. But it's still really funny. And so now it's become this nostalgic piece of just movie of cinema for me. I can't help but love it. I can't do anything but love this movie.
Yeah, I obviously, like I said, I don't have any nostalgic feelings on this particular Muppet movie because it was the first time I saw it. But I can't think of anyone in my generation or younger who was not touched by the Muppets in some way in their childhood. That this was, I grew up on the original Muppet movie, and I remember watching The Great Muppet Caper a bunch. I certainly watched a lot of Muppet Babies because that was big for me in the 80s. And so, yeah, the Muppets have just always kind of been around. I watched a lot of, the original Muppet Show. I still have vivid memories of certain episodes of that.
It's kind of funny to think about that at one point in time, a mainline, like a popular TV show that was like a destination for Hollywood stars to get, it was a thing if you got asked to be on it, was a puppet sketch comedy show. The Muppet Show was like a big thing for celebrities in the 70s. It's so weird to think about. I can't imagine that happening now, but in the 70s, it was like this popular thing to do. Like John Wayne, yeah, he's on the Muppet Show.
The ones I remember real strongly for some reason, there was an episode with Julie Andrews and there was one with John Denver. And I don't know why those are the two that I remember so well, but maybe because we had them on VHS tapes or something. But
I was just going to say, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
John Denver and the Muppets did a Christmas album together.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's why it sticks out in your memory, but they did do a Christmas album together, which is kind of funny. Also, there's a funny episode with, I shouldn't say episode, but sketch with Buddy Rich, the famous drummer, doing a drum off against Animal, which is kind of amusing to see. I don't know if that's from the Muppet Show or from something else, but it was all around that time.
It's probably from the Muppet Show. That sounds like something that they would do because it has this I won't say counterculture. Certainly Jim Henson would sort of veer into that, but there's definitely something it's like subversive but family friendly at the same time. It's constant fourth wall breaking, commenting on stuff, sliding in jokes here and there that are above the intended audience's ability to catch. And just the characters of the Muppets are so strongly defined. Like in improv, you would call it game, but each character has its own quote unquote game. And the Muppets as a whole, like the Muppet aesthetic and their sense of humor is so well defined that I won't say Muppet Treasure Island is on autopilot, but you can tell that these are all the seasoned Muppet people. It's yeah, we got this. We know what we're doing. We know what a Muppet Treasure Island looks like.
It's a well-oiled machine by the time this is coming out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the second to last Muppet movie. I know it's not the second to last Muppet movie of all time, but it felt like, from when the original Muppet movie came out in the, what was it, late 70s or early 80s? I forget the exact year. Up until the mid to late 90s, there was, a steady stream of Muppet movies or Jim Henson productions, i.e., Dark Crystal and stuff like that. And so these, Muppeteers or puppeteers had all these years of experience, and then the Muppets just kind of went away for a while. You didn't really see them for. I don't remember many things they did in the 2000s. Do you?
I believe that's where Muppets from Space slots in, somewhere in there.
Maybe I thought that was a 90s thing, but I can't remember.
I think it might have been early 2000s, but you're right. There's kind of a gap until
99.
Until 99. Wow. Yeah. Until really Jason Segel's The Muppets, which is, I think, 2011 that came out, which is, I think, might be my favorite Muppet movie. I think it's really strong. And in fact, it's really good. We used the closing number from that in my wedding. My wife and I, we didn't walk down the aisle to it. It was after the ceremony when everyone walks out. We walked out to the Life's a Happy Song reprise. So, like I said, you're talking to a Muppet fan for no questions there. But let's get into it. Let's talk about this movie because it's directed by Brian Henson, so it's got the Henson pedigree on it. He also directed Muppet Christmas Carol, I believe, was his first one.
Yep.
And it runs in the family. He worked on Labyrinth a bunch. He's a bunch of voices in that. He's Hoggle, for example, in Labyrinth. So you're in good hands here, and you've got, I think, most of the primary Muppet cast. So you have what's his name? Dave Goelz is a lot of the voices. You've got Steve Whitmire doing Kermit. You've got a lot of you've got Kevin Clash is in there, who most people would know as Elmo. So he's in there. Yeah, just a strong group of people. And had you ever read the Robert Louis Stevenson Treasure Island book before this?
No, I think I tried to as a kid because I was obsessed with Treasure Island in general. So this movie when I first saw this as a kid, it made me obsessed with Treasure Island. So then I watched the original Disney movie, the 60s or 70s live action one. At first hated it, then kind of grew to love it. I haven't seen that in years, actually. I'd be very curious to watch that again. And so then I meant to read the book, and I never just got around to it. I never really got around to it. I was never a big reader as a kid, and I still am not, though I wish I was. It's one of those things, I really wish I could get into more books, but I just don't prioritize it.
I have a vague memory of reading the first third of it at some point. Certain things about it kind of seemed familiar, and I've never seen Treasure Planet, that Disney film, all the way through either. Few people have, I suppose, but I've heard good things. But yeah, I've never actually watched that, which is yet another adaptation of it from around this time. But it's kind of interesting with as much as Pirates of the Caribbean took over. There was not a further attempt to try and adapt this in a serious way, because it's the quintessential pirate story. So much of our pirate lore is less about the real historical pirates of the 1600s and more about what is in this book.
Wasn't there also a book that came out in the 80s that basically kind of influenced and inspired Pirates of the Caribbean? I think it's On Stranger Tides or something like that.
That's another one. Yeah, I forget if that's a nonfiction work, I believe.
It wasn't a nonfiction work. I thought it was. I'm not. I could be. Yeah, it's a book by Tim Powers, and it's a historical fantasy supernatural novel by American. I've been meaning to read that at some point as well. That's taken. God damn it! I knew I was too late. Almost 40 years too late.
Yeah. So let's talk about this movie. So it opens up. We've got Billy Bones, who is Sir Billy Connolly.
Yes.
Knighted recently. If you don't know him, he's Scottish, and he's the Scotsman from every movie where there's a Scotsman, and he's telling the story of this treasure that was buried on this island, and everyone who helped bury it was murdered, and Smith, who buried it, just took off.
And those buccaneers drowned their sins in rum. The devil himself would have to call them scum.
Every man on board would have killed his mate for a bag of guineas or a piece of it. A piece of it.
A piece of it. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Something many wicked, icky things gonna happen tonight. Moolah waka, sailor man beware.
With the money in the ground, there's murder in the air.
Murder in the air. One more time now.
Shiver my timbers, shiver my bones. Yo-ho-ho. There are secrets that sing with old Davy Jones.
When the mainsail set and the anchors weigh, there's no turning back from any course that's laid.
And when we and really sail the sea, you can get your boots and be free. Shiver my timbers, shiver my sails. Dead men tell no tales.
Yeah, or it was Flint. Flint was killed. It was
Flint, yeah.
And then Billy Bones. You find out Billy Bones was actually part of Flint's crew in a minute, but the opening song is a banger, dude. I love this opening song so much, and it was funny as a kid. I didn't realize it, and even when I rewatched it again as an adult, I didn't notice it until prepping for this. Hans Zimmer did the score for this movie, which it's pretty fitting considering obviously he went on to do the Pirates movies.
Right. He would do the score for those as well. I do like this opening number. This is very Muppety. It's it's the perfect kind of like it's bringing you into the world. They're doing this number, which is a sea shanty, right? It's it's fitting thematically. My favorite detail in this is that singing pile of skulls.
Yes.
I know
exactly what you're talking. Finish your thought. I
know
what you're going to say.
No, it's just cool. It's like, because at first it's like all these Muppet like crabs and seagulls or whatever, like stuff you would expect, right? As you watch these guys haul this treasure and bury it and stuff. But then like the you've got like the totems or whatever you want to call them, these like sort of wooden tiki heads that are singing. But yeah, the skulls, it's like that's just the right tone for the Muppets, that it's like it's actually kind of macabre but sweet and accessible.
If you also notice when you're watching the singing with the skulls, the one skull that's kind of doing a solo is actually like there is one skull in the back singing a solo compared to the rest kind of doing the chorus part or the choir part. And you can it's out of focus initially, but at the very end when it ends on its evil laugh, you can really like it. The focus pans over to it, like I guess it's a rack focus is the right term. I don't know, but it goes up. It focuses on it, which is farther back in the shot, and then you can actually see that it's like synced up with everything. It's like small attention to detail like that, which has always impressed me with Muppet movies in general, where it's like they didn't have to do that. Like it's just a pile of skulls, like this whole thing, and they didn't. There's one soloist, but they didn't have to like actually have one skull designated as the soloist. They could have just had them all talking, you know what I mean? Like, but they took the time to actually like this guy over there. You're the soloist in this one. Yeah. As I watched this, with any movie that's kind of like this, or like we talked about Roger Rabbit a few episodes back, live action animation hybrid stuff. And like these things are at their best when like, it's all human beings that are craftsmen doing all these tricks. But like, I don't think about that when I watch these movies too much. It's usually like, no, the Muppets are real. Like I don't have to think about how it's they're technically pulling it off. Right. I just accept that this is the world and Muppets live in it. It's kind of cool to see like what big budgets can do for practical effects when it's not just a stereotypical action flick. And don't get me wrong, I love action flicks. Give me Die Hard and all the practical stuff and Fast and Furious and all that junk. But it still is impressive to see, like specifically with the puppets, like it's amazing what they're able to do in that with all the big budget they're able to pour into it. And you were saying before about the kind of the totems that are singing too. This begins a long trend for me in this movie of stuff that I thought I heard as a kid, and the lyrics are nothing like that at all. There's the one line is the mula waka I forget what it leads up to, but they go like many wicked things gonna happen tonight. I always thought they were saying like many wiki kiki, like it was almost like just it was more of like a sound than an actual word. Yeah, but they're actually saying many wicked icky things gonna happen tonight. But with the inflection they're using, it just sounds many wicked kiki.
Yeah,
and stuff like that happens to me throughout the movie, especially with Billy Bones and for some reason for me the English accents in this movie were just so much harder to like understand things they were saying. I don't know. Did you find that for yourself?
Yeah, it's a little tough. I mean, Billy Connolly is he's always a little tough because his brogue is pretty strong. And then Jennifer Saunders, who we're about to meet in a minute from Absolutely Fabulous, who runs the inn where we go next. She's also like, I mean, when she speaks normally, she's easy to understand, but here she's hamming it up. So yeah, a little harder to understand her. She's playing this like Monty Python-esque old biddy who is just mean and kind of a Roald Dahl character, because we find out from like Gonzo, who is there, listening to this, that like, what does she say? Something like, you better clean up around here. She tells Gonzo, Rizzo, and our young hero, Jim Hawkins, like, or there's going to be no table scraps for you. Like that's
no table scraps for a week. Yeah. And she like growls going off screen.
When you're finished here, you can go and clean up in the kitchen. I left some table scraps in there for your supper. Oh, yes. And boys, last night you forgot to put out the lantern. If you forget that again, there'll be no table scraps for a week.
Yeah, she's fun. Like, just and an invention, because I believe in the book Jim Hawkins's parents run the inn. Here he's an orphan. So they're
okay.
going with that. Again, classic, like, again, Roald Dahl kind of orphan stuff. And I love that they continue this from Muppet Christmas Carol, that they have kind of Gonzo and Rizzo as this two-hander. Like, they pair together very, very well. And even in the credits, they're listed as playing themselves.
Yep. This movie is one of the many reasons I love Gonzo. Like, I love how, like, he is the strangest character out of all the Muppets, which is saying something. But he's not embarrassed by his strangeness. He's very like, he's like, I just like what I like, and he doesn't care. And that's what always appealed to me about Gonzo, is just like, there's a line later on where him and Rizzo are talking, and they're lamenting about how, like, Jim isn't talking to them and this and that. He's like, well, that's a bummer, but hey, Angel Marie said he'd throw a line out of the back and let me drag along the bottom. And which is supposed to be like some type of threat from Angel Marie, but Gonzo's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. I get to drag along the bottom of the ocean. Let's do this. And it's stuff like that. Yeah,
he'll talk about, like, sandwich ingredients that are, comically absurd that he wants to eat. And, like, he's just, let your freak flag fly. He's my favorite Muppet as well. I've always had an affinity for Gonzo, maybe because I'm the weirdo as well. But, like, yeah, man, he's so great. And Rizzo is great playing off of him, because he's more this, like, streetwise character. Like, somehow, like, they fit as this pairing, it's just great. Like, I feel like they try and pair them up as much as possible later on because of that. There's, like, some magic chemistry between them. And we get all our backstory here about, you got to watch out for this one-legged man, stay away from him. And, this story about, this treasure is out there somewhere and people are going to come looking for it.
I also love, in this opening, a couple, like, small things that I really enjoy. The character of Blind Pew is one of the most funny characters to me. Just like he's just so over the top. He's hamming it up in every scene. I know it's a Muppet, but still.
Even by Muppet standards, it's pretty handy.
Yeah. And they make a couple jokes, like, oh, he's some kind of blind fiend. And they're like, I think they prefer visually challenged fiend. And there's, like, in the opening scene, there's lots of moments where they're almost bizarrely trying to be like, I don't know if inclusive is the right word, because there's a moment, where Miss Bluffridge is sending everyone off to bed, and she's like, all right, gentlemen, we're going to have for dinner our roast suckling. And all the pigs are like, huh? What? Potatoes. And they're like, oh, thank God. And they walk off. And then all of a sudden she goes, no offense, ma'am, no offense. And you see this little potato Muppet run across the screen too. There's just so many, I don't know, some of the jokes like that. Like, to me, that's a really good joke, because who makes a potato Muppet? Jim Henson does, just for a joke. They made that entire Muppet just for a one-off joke.
The Muppets are always kind of constantly looking like, how can we put a hat on a hat? And unlike most hat on a hat jokes, the Muppets usually pull it off. So yeah, I agree with that. There's a line in this point, because we're about to get, like, Jim has his little song about, how life is terrible. He wishes for, this is the I Want song. And there's a line in here somewhere where he says something like, I hate my life.
Whoa. That's it, steady.
I hate my life.
I hate your life too.
If I had a life, I'd hate it.
Which is like, what a great, like, way to riff on that. That's so good.
and then Rose is like, if I had a life, I'd hate it.
Right. Yeah, that's odd. The three of them, because the three of them are all basically, you could have just cast Gonzo as Jim Hawkins or Rizzo, but they just sort of, like, all three of them are sort of the same character.
You're 100% right with their chemistry. That same chemistry shows up again just a moment later after Jim's song, because the whole thing, there's a callback joke, a running joke in the first, like, 10-15 minutes of the movie, where Miss Bluffridge, who the woman you mentioned before who runs the inn, she will be able to, like, someone will say something and then she'll respond even though she's off screen, like, 5 doors down, and they're always like, how does she do that? Somehow always is in line with that. So they finish the song, and then they go, maybe if we can go east, to the whatever island, and west, pirate galleons, and then all this other stuff. And then Miss Bufford from like inside the house, nowhere near, should not be able to hear them, yells, "To the northwest, dirty dishes." They call back the joke, and once again, to bring it back to what you're saying about this chemistry between the three of them, you hear it's like, "All right, Jim Hawkins goes, 'All right, I'll wash the dishes.' Rizzo goes, 'I'll dry.' Gonzo says, 'I'll break,' and then the scene ends." Wait, no, I think that's right before they go into the song. My apologies.
Well, that's okay. We can go out of order slightly. No big deal.
I was getting confused with all, but it's stuff like that then it leads into the song. But like I brought all that up just to kind of re-emphasize what you said. The chemistry between those three is really strong.
Yeah, Muppet movies are often at their best when they're a little more like sketch movies, like you think of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where the plot is less important or almost non-existent. Like, we don't really care how well they adapt the Robert Louis Stevenson book. We just want like fun sketches to kind of follow along that general outline. But this is where we sort of have to do a little action stuff because, the Billy Bones comes back. He's got the horrors. He's got the black spot. Basically, he's marked for death.
The black spot!
But I don't understand. What is the black spot?
The black spot's a pirate's death sentence! Fabulous. They'll be coming to kill me tonight!
We better help.
Yeah, let's get some... It's my old sea chest them lovers are after.
Underwear.
But I'll trick them. I'll shake out another reef and daddle them again.
You want to run that by us again in English there, Mr. Bones?
It's mine! I'm going for that treasure myself! And no one-legged son of a bilge rat will...
Captain Bones!
He died? And this is supposed to be a kid's movie.
Jimmy! You always been a decent sort to old Billy Bones.
But I'm not Jimmy Jim. He's Jimmy Jim.
Jim?
Yes, Captain.
Jim.
Yes, Captain, what is it?
Take the map.
What map?
The map to old Flint's treasure. Don't you understand what I've been telling you? I was Flinty's first mate. We all were. Blind, you and me. Oh, my old shipmates. They'll gully me for sure. And anybody else to get their mitts on that map.
And Gullion hurts, right?
Oh, aye. A lot.
Yeah, and Billy Connolly is so good as Billy Bones in this. Just like, he sells every moment of it with the whole, like, the black spot, and just screams. And he's packing all his stuff up, and Jim's like, I don't understand, what is a black spot? And he explains, it's a pirate's death sentence. Gonzo, being the helper that he is, he's like, I'll help with this. Underwear, put some in there, just keeps putting stuff into his suitcase for him. Some of it just nonsensical. And then after all that, Billy Bones, beware the one-legged man. He suffers like almost a semi-heart attack, falls in and tells Jim, beware the one-legged man. And he's like, all right, Captain, I'll beware. He's like, and also running with scissors. It's all good fun until someone loses an eye. And right where he's supposed to say eye, that's when he suffers his fatal heart attack suddenly. And they make a joke out of it.
Yeah, it's like you never have to take anything that seriously, right? They're never going for actual pathos in a Muppet movie. It's all just, spoofing and good fun. And that's where this kind of turns into this big escape because the pirates come looking for the treasure map, which our heroes now have, and they escape the burning wreckage of this inn, and they need to go find Trelawney, who will get them a boat that they can use to find this treasure. And we meet Fozzie, who is Trelawney.
The rich half-wit young son of young Squire Trelawney. He's the son of Trelawney.
Oh, hello, chappies! Everyone? This is Dr. Livesey and his assistant Beaker. They do research and development for my papa.
Hello.
Actually, Squire, we were hoping to meet with your father. We need a ship for an ocean voyage.
Ocean? Ocean?
The ocean? The big blue wet thing?
Oh, the big blue wet thing! Yes!
Say, I know what's happening here. You chaps are planning to sail to this island, aren't you? To dig up this treasure.
Yes, but we must be quiet about it. There are pirates looking for this map.
Yeah, and they want to kill us for it. Isn't that exciting?
Pirates, eh? Well, that settles it. We'll use one of my daddy's boats, and I will personally finance the voyage for the treasure myself.
You'll do that? Really?
Certainly. What are rich half-wit sons for?
Yeah, which is just an excuse to let Fozzie be Fozzie. And he has this recurring bit where he has like it's like The Shining, but funny. He talks to his finger, which is Mr. Thimble, he calls it.
It's actually, this ties in with my thing I mentioned before of not understanding half the dialogue in this movie, or I shouldn't say half, a large chunk of it. It's Mr. Bimbo, according to the subtitles on Disney+.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was Thimble too. As a kid for years, I thought it was Thimble. But I was like, I got to know what this is. There was another moment earlier, and this will be quick so I don't dwell on a previous scene. When the inn explodes, the dog right before the explosion happens, you see him scream and goes, oh, whoop. I thought he said like blow up, like, okay, because the gunpowder is going to blow up. He's saying, oh, woof, but it doesn't sound like woof. It sounds like blow whoop. It's very strange. So back to what we're talking about now. Mr. Bimbo is the man that lives in Fozzie's finger who has apparently been to the moon twice.
It's an interesting bit. I don't know where this ties into the book, if they're trying to riff on something from the original book, because I don't recognize it. And it's like, I don't want to say it's out of character for Fozzie, but usually his bit is more like just delivering bad puns and stuff. Having him be like half crazed is an interesting like angle on Fozzie. Choice. Yeah, but I do like that he's like this, like, yeah, you said like half-wit son, right? That's a trope we know.
Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that the guy who introduces him, when Hawkins and Gonzo and Rizzo show up, they're like, we'd like to speak to the shipbuilder, Master Trelawney, the shipbuilder. And he goes, and the guy, the super like stuffy British dude, he goes, oh, he's not in here. He's in like Long Nebby or whatever for the grouse season. And then he starts laughing. He's like, but his rich half-wit son, young Squire Trelawney, is here. And he like does a wheezing laugh because he's laughing. Whoever plays this dude is my hero because he's laughing so hard at his own joke, like the character's own joke. I don't know. I was just really impressed that, like, I shouldn't say impressed, but it tickled me how into such a small character he was.
Yet nobody is half-assing it in a Muppet movie.
No.
Right? Like, everyone's really stoked to be there, I'm sure. Just to be, like, around the Muppets is a lot of fun, and all the Muppeteers and stuff. So, yeah, everyone is playing to 11 and just kind of living it up. And we get... we're directed to the Hispaniola, the ship. We meet Statler and Waldorf, who are the statues on the bow of the ship, which is...
What a great choice.
It's an awesome way to incorporate them into the movie, because they definitely try to, like, we got to have all of the Muppets in here somewhere. How do we cram them all into Treasure Island? And, like, yeah, what a great choice to stick them in there.
They did introduce Bunsen and
Beaker work for Trelawney, yeah.
Yep, they work for Trelawney as his like shipbuilders. Dr. Livesey is an actual character in the book, which I did look up a little bit of stuff for this episode. So Dr. Livesey is a real character played by Honeydew. But I just wanted to shout that out quick. But yeah, they get onto the ship, and probably one of my favorite segments in the entire movie. One, you first meet Sam Arrow, who's the second mate or whatever it is, the second in command. I forget the term.
First mate.
It second mate? First mate. Gosh, dang it. He's second in command, but he's the first mate. There we go.
Sam the Eagle.
Sam Eagle, yes. He's wonderful in this opening scene because he hypes up Kermit. Kermit ends up being the captain, and he hypes the whole thing up as he is this raging volcano tormented by inner demons, the likes of which we have never seen.
The captain approaches. Aside, make way, make ready for the captain. Lollygaggers will suffer his wrath.
Wrath? Is this captain bad-tempered?
Is he bad-tempered? The man is a raging volcano, tormented by inner demons the likes of which mere mortals cannot fathom.
Good day, Mr. Arrow.
I knew it. He's furious.
Yeah, and we haven't seen, as you're going through this, you're of course going, all right, well, all the Muppets are going to show up somewhere. Where's Kermit going to be? Where's Miss Piggy going to be? Where are all these characters going to show up in the movie? And as he's building it up, it's like, well, which of the Muppets is it going to be? And it's like, of course, like the most, sweet, good-natured one of them all. It's going to be Kermit for the captain. And he's great. We also meet here, though, our villain, Long John Silver, played by human Muppet Tim Curry.
I adore Tim Curry in this movie. I love his performance. He hams it up a lot, but specifically there's moments later in the movie that I won't touch on yet until we get to it that are surprisingly human for him. Not for him, I should say, but for this movie. Like, there's like a bizarre through line of like father figures for Jim in this movie. You know, like when you first meet Long John, he's this really affable character. He has a pet lobster instead of a pet parrot, which is a pretty decent joke. And he's just this really fun, over the top character. And you kind of like you know Billy Bones' warning, don't trust the one-legged man, and Long John Silver is the one-legged man, but he's very pleasant, he's very affable, and you find out, you know, pretty early on that he's already kind of the bad guy, but at this point when you first meet him, it's still just a little bit of a suspicion, but he's still really pleasant. And so he plays this over-the-top character, but he kind of ends up becoming a father figure for Jim Hawkins throughout the movie, and that's when some of the more emotional stuff takes place, is when ultimately, obviously, since he is the bad guy, it does betray Jim. And we'll get into that more as the movie gets to it. But he has such a weird character in this, because I don't think that father-son dynamic that they're kind of alluding to in this is in the book at all. But I could be completely wrong. I don't know.
I think it is. I think this is the emotional linchpin of the book. This, I know, shows up in the Treasure Planet adaptation. Like, that you need to really invest in, like, I like the relationship between Long John Silver and Jim Hawkins, so that when Long John Silver has his heel turn, you're really profoundly disappointed, and that when it shows back up, like, you can tell, I mean, we're getting way ahead, but like, he does really take a shine to Jim. He does like him on some level. And, you know, he probably would, you know, hey, if Jim decided to switch sides and be a pirate, he'd probably be thrilled.
Putting in the longboat till he's sober. Putting in the longboat till he's sober. Putting in the longboat till he's sober. Early in the morning.
What have we here? Stowaways. I'm afraid we shish kebab and barbecue stowaways on this ship.
Wait, I know. You must be the cabin boys.
Yeah.
Hungry lads? Well, in my galley, you're always welcome to help yourselves.
Yes, thank you. Yahoo! Oh, yes.
Well, he's got a healthy appetite. How about you, funny face?
Huh?
Here.
Hey, thank you. My name is Gonzo, and the guy in your chicken is Rizzo.
You.
Oh, and you must be Master Hawkins.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you needn't be calling the lowly ship's cook, sir. Long John Silver, at your humble service.
But we're just cabin boys, Mr. Silver.
Long John, to his friends. And believe me, lad, a friend you can trust is worth his weight in gold. There's many a dark-hearted scoundrel in these ports.
What do you mean, pirates?
Shh!
Pirates? Oh, that's rich. Pirates? What an imagination. Give me a cracker.
Allow me to introduce my pet lobster, Polly.
Pieces of eight, pieces of eight.
Raised him from a fingerling, I did. As fine a crustacean as a man could ask for.
But I thought sailors had talking parrots as pets.
Talking parrots?
Yeah, what an imagination. First pirates, now talking parrots? What's next? A singing, dancing mouse with his own amusement park? Woo-hoo!
That's enough now, Polly. Go on, shoot.
So you need that emotional beat to work. But meanwhile, Tim Curry is like chewing the scenery, like not at 11, but like at 21. And he is incredible. Like, he's doing stuff that, like, he has this like laugh that like he does as Pennywise he does that laugh as Pennywise the clown. Like, it's this, you know, the same guy. Like, he's like, they clearly just let him off the leash and said, hey, if you want to do this as Dr. Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show, you do it. And he just
he sells everything, man. Like he sells like when he's interacting with the Muppets, it's not someone acting with the Muppets. He is literally just, oh, this is a person I'm speaking to. Like he's so absorbed into the character. It's wonderful. And the introduction to him is great, and that's when obviously Arrow blows the whistle and calls everyone to come out, and that's when you have that whole buildup of Kermit, and it's the fake out. It's a I shouldn't say stereotypical. It's a typical joke that you would see. The making up all these adjectives to describe what you're about to see, and then completely subverting your expectations with the punchline. That you see that all the time. But the jokes that I like more than that is immediately after, where Kermit comes on. And he's kind of inspecting. He's like, expecting the ship and everything, and Sam Arrow looks at the rail and goes, "I knew it. He's furious." He like swipes and sees dust and says, "I knew it. He's furious." He goes up to someone. He's like, "You there? You were responsible for dusting the rails or whatever. 30 lashes, and then you walk the plank." And Kermit's like, "I didn't say that, Miss Arrow. Oh, I was just anticipating your whim, sir." Mm-hmm. And that it gets called back later on, where they're getting ready to set sail, hoisting the gangplank and unfurling the sails and all this other stuff. And Arrow's giving all these different orders to everyone. And then he goes, "Any man caught dawdling will be shot on sight." And Kermit's like, "I didn't say that, Mr. Arrow. I was just paraphrasing."
Yeah. It's a good game between these two. And like Sam the Eagle he's a great character. He's kind of used sparingly. He's not like one of the premier Muppets, I guess, but like they make such good use of him here because he is so serious. He's just a great character. And we move pretty quickly here. Like they kind of go off to, they're off on their voyage. We introduce this running gag that there's like this gaggle of rats that are like treating it like it's a cruise and they're on a tour. Rizzo's trying to make money by having this rat tour going on, which is fun.
We put the rat in Pie Rat.
Right. And so we have a roll call. We find out that Fozzie hired the crew, which is why there's a bunch of mutineers and idiots on there.
It's worth pointing out real quick, another one of my favorite jokes is in the roll call when they do all the pirate calls, this... And they have typical jokes that you've seen before. They have like a name like Sweetums, and it turns out to be this big gruff dude. They have big fat ugly bug faced baby eating O'Brien, and it's this beautiful woman. Joke once again setting up one expectation and subverting it. But my favorites are the ones where there's like one-eyed Jack, and it's a dude with literally no eye on his left eye and an eye patch over his only eye that he actually has. Mm-hmm. There's that, and then there's the old Tom, real old Tom, dead Tom. Clueless Morgan is also low-key really funny, where they call him out. It goes, "Clueless Morgan," and he just goes, "Huh?" Like there's all these just like, they don't do just the jokes that you're expecting. They also do ones that they're like, this is unique for this setup that we've created with these goofy Muppets.
Yeah, I get truly Muppety jokes. I really like the dead Tom. That's just a great. He's just a skeleton that's somehow part of the crew, and they'll call that back later. Yeah, he's great. And so then we get to the scene where we finally bring in the Electric Mayhem, which makes me happy. And now it's a cruise ship. They're playing. We get this Jim and Long John Silver bonding some more. They talk about navigating by stars, which will become important later. And it's just
you find out Jim has a compass from his father.
Yes, that he does not want to give up because that is his sole remaining kind of heirloom or piece of him. Mm-hmm. And this is like this is like the one scene where it's like we're going to turn off the jokes for a minute and just have a scene between these two characters. And you're right, like this film does not have a lot of emotional depth or pathos. Like that's not what it's about. That's not what they're going for. But you need just a little bit, and they kind of nail that by doing this scene.
There is in this scene too. I'm going to double check it right now. I'm pretty sure the Disney Plus version they changed up the music for just this scene because the other music I could be completely wrong. I have a totally legal copy that I obtained a while ago that I remember watching it on, and I'm pretty sure the music is different. I'm going to double check on the scene, but either way, I like this scene a lot just because it is that emotional character building that you see from you get a lot more of understanding who Long John is, sort of, and also a little bit more about Jim, and it builds that father-son thing that we keep talking about. I really like this scene a lot, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, like I said, this is, everybody kind of, this film is kind of vibrating on this very like ADHD wavelength for a lot of it. And it's nice to kind of watch it slow down the pace and have this moment. And that kind of continues to the next scene, which is just Kermit missing Miss Piggy. We don't know what happened to her yet. She is, fairly, high profile Muppet to have not made a big appearance yet. So we'll find out what happened to her.
I'm sorry, quick note. I don't think they changed the music on that scene. I just listened to it real quick. I don't think they changed it. Sorry, continue on. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No problem. It says something about this movie in general that like these characters all have like character names, but they're Kermit, they're Piggy, they're Fozzie. Like he's Trelawney, but really is Fozzie. So we get to the next morning. This is where Gonzo talks about getting dragged at the bottom of the ocean. So great. And this is where he gets stretched out. This is a weirdly like cartoony gag, even for the Muppets, that like they put Gonzo on the rack, the mutineers do, and stretch him out, and he spends the next like chunk of the movie with these ridiculously long noodle arms and legs, and it's really like some good like physical like sight gags in like a way that the Muppets usually don't do.
Yeah. I was surprised that they did it, not because of how dark it was, but also because, like, is it normal for a ship just to have that on board? Like, I feel like they wouldn't have torture devices on, like, that seems like a lot of space to give up just to bring a torture device with you. I don't know. Maybe, I'm not a history buff. Maybe it was normal for ships to have tables that can stretch your arms and legs off until it just pops, or in Gonzo's case, just stretches. I like how that scene ends, though, because Clueless Morgan, he tries to, it's a little dark, but he tries to burn Rizzo with like a hot iron type of thing from a fire poker. And then when Sam Eagle walks in, or Sam Arrow walks in, he quick decides to hide it, but he's like, oh, where do I hide it? I'll just hide the hot part in my hand. And you just see it start smoking, and he loses his mind and burnt his hand. Clueless Morgan is a character that I really wish would have been a Muppet that stayed outside of this movie. And maybe he is. I mean, you've seen a lot more of the Muppets than I have. Have you seen him in any other Muppet movies outside of this?
I'm trying to remember. Is this the guy that it's Uncle Deadly, or no? I can't remember. Because I thought that character might have been in there. Uncle Deadly is the guy, if you've seen the Jason Segel Muppet movie, the 2011 one. So you've got the bad guys are Chris Cooper, and then this giant bear Muppet, and then this blue, like dragony monster looking one. I can't remember if that's Clueless Morgan or not.
Clueless Morgan is the goat.
He's the goat. Yeah, I don't think he's been in anything else. Yeah.
I really wish he would appear in other Muppet movies, because they give a lot of screen time to him. They also give him a lot of jokes. They give him like when they first introduce him, they have the whole thing, which I think is still a pretty solid joke. He has a lot of dialogue overall, because there's like three kind of bad guys besides Long John Silver that get a lot of screen time together. It's Mad Monty, Polly the Lobster, which is Long John's, pet lobster, and then Clueless. And it's strange that none of them really, like, Polly, at least I could see maybe show up again, but like Clueless Morgan is, I think, one of the funniest characters in the movie, and I'm just surprised they didn't really decide to use him for anything else after that. I mean, maybe his type of like goofy kind of like absent-minded humor doesn't fit in other ones, but I really enjoy him.
Yeah, or they end up using more of the well-known Muppets to fill that slot. To do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know. But yeah, you can always feel like sometimes in these movies they're going to throw in a new character here or there to kind of try something out. So yeah, I love like all of like Gonzo just sitting on deck with his arms and legs like all over the place. And he's like gleeful about it. Like you said, he's got this weird like getting dragged behind a boat seems fine to him.
There's a callback to that joke later too.
Yeah, and he's like up in the rigging. They have him like up there. Like it's really funny. And so we have another scene this with Hawkins and Kermit, where again Kermit is saying, you should give me the map, and he's nervous about it, but this time he finally agrees. So Sam locks it away in Kermit's desk, and then we get to this interesting segment where they're stuck in the doldrums, right? They've been at sea for 6 weeks, and there's no wind anymore, which leads to I think my favorite musical number in the movie, which is Cabin Fever.
I've got cabin fever. I think I lost my grip. I like to get my hands on whoever wrote this script.
I was floating neath the tropic moon and dreaming of a blue lagoon. Now I'm as crazy as a loon.
Cabin fever has ravaged all aboard. This once-bound vessel has become a floating psycho ward. We were sailing, getting who knows where. And now though we're all here, we're not all there. Cabin fever!
Oh, the wind is back. What are we doing? What's going on? What was that?
I feel like such a fool.
Yeah, me too. Nobody saw that.
Embarrassing.
Which is this Carmen Miranda Calypso number where they're all in theory going crazy. It's got probably the most fourth wall breaking jokes of any song in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of this felt the most Muppety, Muppets firing on all cylinders kind of song. So this one stood out to me. It's just someone had this idea for a song and was we have to get this in the movie.
There's a moment in that song, and I haven't shouted. I mean, we'd be here all day if I shouted out all the times I misheard dialogue or lyrics or any of that stuff. There's a line in that song where they break the fourth wall, and the one guy who's like, I'd like to get my hands on whoever wrote this script. But the way he says hands, he's like, I'd like to get my hands on whoever wrote this script. And the way he says hands, he doesn't pronounce the D. So I thought he said Hanes. I'm like, is he talking about his underwear? As a kid, mind you, this is as an adult, I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. But as a kid, I'm like, he wants to get his underwear? Whoever wrote this script? What? There was so many things as a kid that made no sense to me. And I was just like, this movie's great. I don't care.
Yeah, they're very much adopt this classic Warner Brothers duck amuck kind of approach to fourth wall breaking.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that influence, and it's funny every time. It's hard to keep breaking the fourth wall because at a certain point, if you break it too much, it kind of loses its power. But they know just how to ride that so they can get away with it and not do it too much. But here it's really good. And so we get our next scene where Long John Silver is talking to the mutineers or whatever, and Jim accidentally slips up and tells him about the map.
Yep.
And
Jim still trusts Long John at this point, and Long John then decides to take matters into his own hands and find a way to get the map for himself, and so he gets Sam Arrow he tricks Sam. I keep saying Sam Arrow because that's the character's name. It's Sam Eagle is the Muppet's name. Anyway, tricks Mr. Arrow, Sam Eagle, into getting into a lifeboat by saying, when I was on some other boat and half the crew drowned, I was on some other ship and we got attacked, and so we had to get into lifeboats, and half the crew drowned in leaky lifeboats. And it kind of does fit with the character where up until this point, Sam keeps saying, he's so concerned about safety. When he catches the three guys torturing Gonzo and Rizzo, he goes, I say, this is very unsafe. Stuff like that. It's within his character for this movie that he's just obsessed with safety. So when he hears that, his OCD kind of kicks off a little bit, and he goes in and he has to inspect the lifeboats. And that's when Silver tricks him, and he's like, this may look safe, but until you get out into the open ocean, that's where crap goes down. And so Arrow's like, cast me off, Mr. Silver. And really, I like Tim Curry's acting in this, because it could have been a lesser actor would have been like, oh, Mr. Arrow, I mean, you don't want to lose your keys, right? I think it's also partially the writing too is really good, because it would have been way too easy to do a not so subtle wink and nod to the camera. You see what he's doing here? He's tricking him. But the dialogue feels natural enough where it's I could see the character of Sam Arrow falling for this trick. It's obvious to us because we know who Long John is, but this character of Sam Arrow, of Sam Eagle in this being hyper obsessed with safety, also still trusts everyone, I could totally picture his character falling for such an obvious trick in our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very Muppety kind of gag to say. Basically, we're going to have Sam, he has to QA the lifeboats. And sending him off is just a great way to do it. They go through this vaudeville routine, like you said, of getting the keys back from him. Oh, you don't want to leave without those, however he says it. And gets him to go on his way. And that's when it's mutiny time, because Jim overhears the mutineers. He's inside a barrel with. I'm sorry. First, I skipped over something important. So Kermit is told that Sam went overboard, and so they have this eulogy for him while the bad guys are stealing the map. And that's when Gonzo and Rizzo are in the apple barrel. Jim joins them, and they overhear Long John and the mutineers revealing their plot. At which point it's too late. The trap is sprung, and they are. It's mutiny time.
Yeah, so they mutiny, and what I like though is Jim tries to warn Kermit about it, but when he's in the barrel with Gonzo and Rizzo, actually right before he gets in the barrel, it has a callback to the joke of Gonzo getting dragged along the bottom by Angel Marie.
This apple has a worm in it.
That's not a worm, that's my tail.
Oh.
What's wrong?
It just feels so weird.
You mean that Mr. Arrow's dead?
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
And my pants are filled with starfish.
You and your hobbies.
Right.
And as a kid, obviously, nothing was funnier than pants filled with starfish. And actually, as an adult, not going to lie, it still makes me laugh. Just the sincerity in which the line is delivered. Yeah.
Doesn't he at some point pull a starfish out of his pants later on? They call back to
Yes.
That? Yeah.
In the final fight scene, he's fighting a dude, and he pins the dude. He throws the starfish.
They're like ninja stars.
Yeah. And he pins the guy to the side of a boat. It's a great joke, in all honesty.
Yeah, and so they mutiny. They're going to go ashore to Treasure Island, and Kermit has an awesome plan, which is, well, we'll just let them go ashore. We'll sail away, and they'll be stuck there. And maybe when we come back in a year, they'll be softened up. But unfortunately, they have Jim with them, so they can't just leave him to die.
In a really weird way that they capture Jim, too. Like, Long John purposely places his crutch on the ship. Like, you watch him do it, and then when he asks Jim to hand it to him, I don't know why Jim just didn't let go when Long John pulls him in, but the more I watch the scene, the more I'm kind of like, well, he was like he did have the Long John's crutch underneath his armpit, so if a dude lifts straight up on you when you're not expecting it, maybe I could see Jim falling for it and not like being able to let go in time. Like, it's the shock of it suddenly would, but it still is a goofy scene. And yeah, so Jim gets captured, and that's when they have to figure out a new plan. So Kermit and Gonzo and Rizzo head to the island to rescue Jim, and they leave young Squire Trelawney. They leave Fozzie and Bunsen, or Dr. Livesey, and Honeydew to guard the ship, or Beaker to guard the ship. And finally, when they get to the island, this is where you meet, well, in the novel, it's Ben Gunn, a formerly marooned pirate. In this movie, it's Benjamina Gunn, played by Miss Piggy.
Yeah, one of my favorite gags comes right here when they start, when they get to the island, is you see the pirates are all having a party, and the Electric Mayhem is providing the tunes, and they have a little moment amongst themselves to go like, whose side are we on?
Hey, man, I can't figure out what side we're on. Are we with the pirates or the frog captain?
Oh, hey, man, just play the gig. Never get involved in politics.
Politics! Politics!
They're really funny. Like, yeah, they're just the band. They're there because it's cool to have the band.
Don't get involved with politics. Hey, man, we're just playing a gig. Don't get involved in politics.
Yeah.
Animals. Politics.
Yeah, I feel bad. We don't get really any animal in this movie. That's kind of the one.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Animal's
a
my
little
second favorite Muppet, and you don't get a lot of him.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, like I said, you can only cram so many of them into this story. So it's nice we get a little Animal, but I do like Animal. He is fun. And I like Dr. Teeth as well. I always liked him. And not much for him to do. He doesn't have much of a character, but there's just something cool about this like Grateful Dead-esque band leader that I kind of like. Just sort of how 60s groovy he is.
One thing real quick as in this scene, so there's a lot that happens on the island before the final fight and before some other stuff, but something
lots of stuff. Yeah.
Something I want to shout out because you see it here when when Kermit and Gonzo and Rizzo all end up getting captured by the tribe on the island. But something you've seen throughout the whole movie is the callbacks to Rizzo having this rat cruise. Like
they're everywhere. Scenes, yeah, they're always like watching stuff. They're like, and they're not just watching. They're like sitting at tables with like drinks and like napkins and stuff. they're watching dinner theater. It's a great little running gag of them. Like they're always commenting on what's happening. Like they're a good audience surrogate, especially when you can't have Statler and Waldorf removed from the ship to do that commentary. It's good to have them there as a substitute.
There's like Fozzie. There's a scene where Fozzie throws like or sherry through a window, and like it happens multiple times. Dude, I won't break down the entire scene, but he throws it multiple times. After like the fourth time, a rat pops up and he's like, "Can you knock it off with the booze? It's peeling the paint off the shuffleboard court." And it's just like weird. I'm like, how did Rizzo have time to put a shuffleboard court into the ship for the people, or did they make it themselves? I don't know.
Yeah. Again, the Muppets do not require consistency or reality. It's just if it's funny, it happens.
That's why we love them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes the Muppets the Muppets. And we get this song about the pirates are professional pirates, which I like. And Tim Curry says something like, "This is my only number" in the song, which is great. He points that out. And yeah, I get this is probably my second favorite song. This very much feels like kind of the Monty Python, specifically like the Knights of the Round Table song from Holy Grail. Like kind of similar comedic DNA for this. It's a lot of fun.
When I was just a lad, looking for my true vocation, my father said, "Now son, this choice deserves deliberation. Though you could be a doctor, or perhaps a financier, my boy, why not consider a more challenging career?"
Hey ho ho, you'll cruise the foreign shores.
See you, lad. Show him you've been practicing.
Out of doors.
True friendship and adventure are what we can't live without.
And when you're a professional pirate,
that's what the job's about.
Upstage, lads. This is my only number. Now take Sir Francis Drake. The Spanish all despise him, but to the British he's a hero and they idolize him. It's how you look at buccaneers that makes them bad or good, and I see us as members of a noble brotherhood. Hup!
Hey ho ho!
Oh, I love it! 'Tis poetry in motion.
Before we lose our tempers, we will always count to 10.
On occasion, there may be someone you have to execute.
But when you're a professional pirate,
you don't have to wear a suit. What?
I like that. I like the song. Oh, actually, I have a question then. What is your favorite song? Have we reached it already?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it was the Cabin Fever song.
It was yeah. Sorry, you did say that. It was Cabin Fever followed by this. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to start thinking what my favorite song is for this once we get to the end of the episode. I'll think on it once we get to the end.
Oh, definitely. I'll ask you that.
Yeah. So Jim kind of gets strong-armed into giving his compass to the treasure hunt because Long John, Long John obviously cares for Jim, and you can see it, but he also still, as a pirate, he still has... It's very clear, and what I like about the character of Long John Silver as Tim Curry portrays him is that he very much cares for Jim like his son, but in the end, he still ultimately cares about his own personal desires. Like, he's more selfish than he is. He cares more about his own self-interest than he does about Jim in general. And he is conflicted by it, which I think is what's interesting, that he still, it's not like it's an easy choice for him. He still ultimately chooses to be a shitty person, but it is still interesting. It makes that, I think that's why this movie has stuck with me for so long, is it's filled with lots of jokes, and I think the jokes are genuinely really good. It's got a solid storyline. I mean, yes, because it's based off a book, so it's solid because it's based off a tried and true story. But it's that relationship once again with Jim and Long John, and here in the song that you're talking about, when
Professional
you're a professional pirate, it's a great song. It's showing again, even though once again Long John's self-interest come out, because after they do the whole number and Jim says no, he's like, I'll be taking it either way, Jim, which is a really subtle way for a kid's movie to indicate, I'm going to kill you if you don't give me your compass.
Right. We can do the easy way or the hard way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a little more business, but basically we get to the part where our heroes are captured by the pig tribe, and
I am Spam, High Priest of the Boars.
Howdy, vous stinky froggy man and friends. I am Spam, High Priest of the Boars. You mucho wickedness go trespass on island. Now you suffer the wrath of our queen. Boom shakalaka.
Terrific. Captured by crazed wild pigs and sacrificed hideously before a pagan altar. Are we lucky or what?
Silence, smelly sailormans. You have violated sacred island.
Excuse me. I am Captain Smollett. We mean no harm to your culture. We embrace all creatures of differing nationalities.
Silence! Bring forth Boom shakalaka.
That can't be good.
Boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka.
Yes, we beat Spam, and we have this parade. There's an elephant. One thing I know, even before Piggy shows up as Benjamina Gunn, there's this. This is the one time I was like conscious of like the technical choices they're making. But there's a scene where like all of these pigs are like they're moving the group along to wherever they're trying to get them to, and it's nighttime, so they're carrying torches, and I'm like, shit, man, you've got a bunch of like felt puppets with flammable torches. I'm like, wow,
think of that.
That must be very tricky to work that out. So they're not. I mean, because the puppeteers down below, they can't see what they're doing. Like, how are they not setting themselves and everything on fire? It's a nice little scene.
I never thought of that. You're right.
But that's like one of the things, like I said, when you're watching it, like that stuff very rarely occurs to you because you just believe, like, yeah, they're just living, breathing characters.
The
but yeah,
production value in general for this movie is insane. Like, you just look at we mentioned before, there's like attention to detail. We mentioned the skull earlier on in the movie. There's also earlier on in the movie, back all the way at the inn, there's like when Billy Bones is first telling his story. And everyone's like, yeah, it'd be interesting if it wasn't the first 1,000 times we heard it or something like that. There's a mug that comments on it. Like there's another voice, or I forget what the line is, but it's a mug that speaks. And they actually made a mug puppet or a mug Muppet, I guess. And there's stuff like all the small little characters, and then you bring it all the way up to now, and like the fact, like, they have a real elephant in this scene. They shot like a real elephant for this. And like you said, all the fire stuff, and like it's a big production in just this one scene. I think what impresses me more is that it's very clear that this was a big budget production, but it didn't feel like the money was wasted. Like, you see every cent that they spent on the screen. And I think that's another reason I really enjoy it.
And I love how, yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, because this scene is just incredible, absolutely incredible to watch.
Yeah, and what I love about this is it's all practical, right? Because we're in the late 90s. They could have used CG for stuff, and it looks like the best looking 80s movie, if that makes. And I mean that as a compliment,
yeah,
because of like it has that tactile feel that movies from the 80s have, where it's like, you know, you wonder like, oh, how did they do that? Because they didn't just run it through a computer. Like, they had to actually do this some other way that I find way more interesting to watch. So they're we've got the pirates kind of cutting through vines. They find the treasure, but the boxes are empty. And the pirates mutiny again, this time against Long John Silver, and he has to fend them off.
And this, once again, is a scene where Long John is showing his kind of like conflicted emotions about Jim, because he defends him. He lets Jim run off. Like, he doesn't want Jim to die over something he did. So it's weird where he he values his self-interest more than others, but at the same time in this scene he values Jim over his self-interest. Like he could have just run away and let Jim fend for himself type of thing, but he didn't. He warded off the pirates so Jim could run away. And I love the line he says where he goes like, get out of here, Jim. He's like, why are you? And Jim goes, why are you doing this for me? He's like, because I like you, boy. I wasn't lying about that. Now get out of here. And then one of my favorite the mutiny scene, they have Long John tied up, and right before that happened, you hear Long John fire his pistol, and some dude's crying, and he goes, oh. And Long John's tied up. He goes, dead. Tom's dead. Long John shot him. Oh, and then, but dead Tom's always been dead. That's why he's called Dead Tom. Oh, and just drops him.
Yeah, it's a great call. It's a funny joke when Dead Tom shows up the first time. The fact that they found this way as a callback to get so upset that Dead Tom has been shot. Again, like a very macabre joke, like just rides that line for a Muppet movie. But yeah, that was one of my favorite jokes. And one of my other favorite jokes is next, where we have this scene randomly with like the Swedish chef, and he's cooking for them. And the best line about it is someone, I think it's Rizzo, just goes like, "Well, we had to get him in the movie somewhere."
It's one of the vegetables who says it,
yeah,
and then he smacks the vegetable with his hammer or his mallet or whatever.
Yeah, there is no reason for the Swedish chef to be in the movie other than like he's awesome and he's a great character.
He's catering the tribe, the local tribe on the island. Real quick, also in that mutiny scene, they give Long John Silver the black spot, and I love this part of the scene as well because they give it to him on a page from the Bible, and Long John just rips into, like, he doesn't. Once again, props to Tim Curry, because you can see in Tim Curry's performance, Long John doesn't give two shits that it's on a page from the Bible, but he knows if he like lays into that, they will. All the people mutinying will.
Clueless?
Yes.
Give it to him.
Yeah. But, it's not even his birthday.
No, the paper!
Oh. This is for you.
The black spot.
Yeah.
You dare to give me the black spot?
Well, he told me to.
What? Shut up, will you?
And it's drawn on a page from the Bible. You tore a page from the Holy Scriptures to make a pirate's death sentence.
Here.
Oh, the red-hot gates of hell are creeping open. Satan is hating his pokers for you, you blasphemous heathens. Fall down on your knees and beg for deliverance from damnation!
Please forgive us.
Very good. You're forgiven.
Oh, thank you.
Now untie me! And let's go find the treasure!
And so he does a whole thing. He's like, you tore a page from the Holy Scripture to give a pirate his death sentence. And then the red hot, he starts chewing the scenery again. And in that, I remember listening to one of your other episodes. I think it was your D2 episode, and you asked your guest, like, what's one of your most quoted moments? Like, what's one of the quotes from the movie? When they give Long John the black spot that leads up to this, it's Clueless Morgan once again. And I don't know why this sticks with me, because it's not like it's a joke. It's not like I'm saying, oh, the red hot gates of hell or something. It's Clueless Morgan walking up to Long John, giving him the black spot, going, this is for you. And that has stuck. I do that at my job. I will deliver if I'm friendly enough with the people. They don't need to know Muppet Treasure Island. I will if I'm the one delivering mail that day or something to the department. I'll go, this is for you, and then just walk away without saying anything else. No one knows I'm quoting this movie. Oh, it's only for me.
I would say it's subtle and distinctive enough that like what it is, and they just sound like, oh yeah, he's handing me something. But I love that stuff. Like, there's definitely like everybody's got these like weird movie lines. Like, yeah, everyone can say like, I could have been a contender or some like famous line. But like, there's so many other like. In fact, that's in the movie. I just remember that Marlon Brando line is in the song,
in the pirate song.
It's very weird. Yeah, it sticks out like a sore thumb that someone says, I'm just gonna do this Brando voice. But like, there's so many other things that people quote, like myself included. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but like, yeah, just like a very like random one-off line that one character says to another. Like, why it sticks with you, I don't know. Just movie magic, I guess.
And speaking of D2, a friend of mine did something similar where there's a scene in D2 where all the team is all tied up because they're doing the team building activity with the lasso, and someone farts and everyone goes, Goldberg, and Goldberg's like, it wasn't me. And the one kid who's the enforcer, one of the Bash brothers, goes, no, it was me. And my friend quotes that all the time. He said it in that inflection. Mm-hmm. And I was like, did you just quote Mighty Ducks? And he was so surprised I caught it. I'm not saying I could only do that for movies I've watched religiously. Side note, something I thought you might find interesting based off that D2 episode. The guy who plays one of the enforcers, Dean Portman, he was in Newsies originally. He was one of the Newsies in Newsies. And now that guy is married to Idina Menzel.
Wow. She married a Bash brother?
Yeah, she married.
He married brother. Up. He got a Disney princess.
Not Foggy, not Foggy Nelson, the other one.
Right. Still, good for him, man. She's actually 2 Disney princesses. She's Elsa, and she's in that Enchanted series as well. So good for him. So we get to see where we get Piggy and Kermit finally back together. He had cold feet about marrying her. This has come up in other Muppet movies.
You're a frog. You're supposed to have cold feet.
Yeah, this is a thing, I think, in Muppets Take Manhattan as well, as I recall. It's something they come back to, of like, why aren't they actually married? Or like, I think in the Jason Segel one, it's implied they were married and got divorced. So it's an interesting thing. They have to get Muppet. They always have to get Kermit and Piggy together. We found out she dated Flint, which is very funny. She slept around with the pirates. Yeah, and Long John.
He was a pirate. I was a lady. You know the story.
Yeah, and we find out where the treasure went, which is that Piggy, in traditional Miss Piggy fashion, used it to decorate her digs.
Mm-hmm. And the pirates do discover, they get to the treasure by, they find out where it is based off torturing Kermit in front of Miss Piggy. She ends up telling them. And this leads to the love song for this movie, because it's called Love Led Us Here, and Love Led Us Here, excuse me.
Was I dumb? Or was I blind? Or did my heart just lose its mind? Why'd I go and throw our perfect dream away?
Oh, looking back, I'll never know how I ever let you go. But destiny could see we deserve
back to where we belong. We followed a star and here we are. Now heaven seems so near. Love led us here. Love led us here.
But I'm surprised by this song because I actually kind of like it. I'm not normally a sucker for like the love ballads in movies, but I find myself wanting to sing this song more often than I care to admit. And I think also specifically it starts off, they're singing, and then it turns into a montage where like the final chorus is happening and all the pirates are dancing in the cold, and it's weird where it's like in that scene, it made me feel happy for the pirates. I'm like, you found it. Good job, buddies. At the same time, they're the bad guys. It was such a weird moment. I don't know if that was a good thing or I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's like one of those things where I'm like, is that good? Not that I enjoyed it, but like, is that good movie making that like they kind of changed the tone of the pirates temporarily? I don't know. I didn't hate it.
It's very funny. No, they're having their love scene. It's just their love scene is with gold. While Kermit and Piggy are hanging upside down from a cliff. At which point Sam comes rowing in. Finally, he made it to land, which is great. Like, you knew he was going to come back somewhere. It's really funny that the way he does. And then we kind of have our climactic battle on the beach.
Well, sort of. Sam comes rowing in, and that's when he is able to get Rizzo and Gonzo and Kermit's up with Miss Piggy. Rizzo, Gonzo, and Jim, who have escaped from everything, back to the boat, and then they use Sam. They because we knew, the audience knew Sam Arrow was still alive, so they use the pirates' superstitions against them, and they put a little makeup on him, make him appear ghostly, and all the pirates freak out and jump off. That's when they get control of the Hispaniola back. They use it to save Kermit, because they're being hung up by a line that's slowly being burned. And right as the line burns all the way through and Kermit and Piggy fall, they are able to catch them on the bow of the ship. And who, of course, catches them? The iconic duo themselves, Statler and Waldorf. And I like how they, once again, some fourth wall breaking jokes where it's like, you Statler, or Waldorf, you old fool, we saved the pig and the frog. It's like, well, it's too late to save the movie. Oh, or stuff like that. And then it's the final fight, and it's a pretty fun fight overall.
Yeah, it's very frenetic. It's, you've got Muppets and people sword fighting all over. You've got, like I said before, Gonzo is throwing starfish at stuff.
As he whips them at a lobster.
We get Sweetums in there, who's a low key awesome Muppet. He's that like giant ogre one.
I love you guys.
Yeah, he's cool. And then finally, Long John Silver surrenders. The mutineers are imprisoned, and Long John still has the keys, so he takes off with the treasure, but he gives Jim back the compass. And he's in a sinking dinghy, as in my notes. I think he's in trouble.
So right before he leaves, he does give Jim back the compass, but that's kind of like I don't know if it's the penultimate is the right word. I don't think that is. I don't think I'm using it in the right context, but that is like the final scene where you see this father-son relationship with Jim and Long John, and it's a really kind of an emotional moment. Like, I really like the music that Zimmer wrote for like the Long John and Jim scenes, because Long John escapes. He's got a bucket, like 4 or 5 chests of treasure on this escape, on this boat, and Jim is about to blow the whistle on him, and Long John's pointing the pistol right at him, and he goes, "Don't make me do this, Jim. I don't want to do this." And then Jim's not backing down, and it's a really cool character moment for Jim Hawkins.
I suppose you'll be blowing the whistle on me now, won't you, Jim?
Suppose I will. You have to return to Bristol to stand trial.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. I got a terrible fear of hanging.
We're shipmates, aren't we, Jim? Gentlemen of fortune together. Give us one more chance. Oh, hell, Jim. I can never harm you. You're honest and brave and true. You didn't learn that from me.
I learned it from my friends, Mr. Silver. Now take your oars and row away. I never want to see you again, ever.
Oh, Jim! It's a shame, really. We'd have made a great team, Jim.
This movie should not have this much depth to characters. No other characters have it. Only Jim and Long John, I feel like, have this amount given to them. But Jim's not backing down, which is once again like him being like, I'd rather die doing the right thing than live knowing I let you go away. And when Long John finally puts his gun down, as a kid, I remember, my parents are letting me see a movie with a swear word in it. I grew up pretty religious, so anything with swear words was like, absolutely not. So the fact that he said hell, he goes, "Oh, hell, Jim, I could never harm you." And I remember being a kid, be like, "Oh, they're letting us watch a movie with a swear word in it." It was like something taboo. maybe that played into a lot of my love for it. But that the line's a little bit cheesy because, oh hell, Jim, I could never hurt you. You're honest and brave and true. It's a kid's movie. I can give it a pass. But then I like the follow up line. He's like, "You didn't learn that from me," and he's like, "I learned it from my friends, Mr. Silver." And I go, I don't ever want to see you again. And so it feels like Jim was finally like, he was able to tell Long John off in the way he wanted. And so Long John sails off, and he does get his comeuppance, like you said. He takes on too much water. And I think Kermit and Arrow walk up to Jim right as Long John sails off, and Kermit's like, "Your father would have been proud of you." And it's just such a brilliant moment. I don't know, it way more emotional than this movie really warrants, but I still think it works for how it's written and the performances and all that good stuff. Just a really cool ending to that character arc between Long John and Jim.
Yeah, and then we get basically the end. They're talking about taking further adventures on the high seas to Zanzibar and stuff, and we get
the
kind of closing the Zanzibarbarians, and we get credits, and then there's one like mid-credit scene of Long John stuck on the beach, which is one last nice thing for Tim Curry to do. And
hey, Long John, why does the ocean roar? You would too if you had lobsters on your bottom and oysters in your bed. It's nothing but dad jokes, and it kind of makes me chuckle.
I am a sucker for a good dad joke. I am a dad, and that means I got to make these jokes, and I take that responsibility seriously. So, we're at the end, and I'm so glad we got to talk about this movie. I'm glad I finally got a chance to see it, because this is, like I said, I've seen most of them. This has been on the list for a while. I'm like, I want to check this out at some point. I bet it's interesting. So, Josh, tell me, like, why is it you think that this movie has remained, people still love this one? Like, I mean, I know people love the Muppets generally, but what do you think it is about this movie that makes it special?
I think part of it is there's just a lot of things. It's one of those things, like, I feel like I'm pretty okay at being able to separate my nostalgia from the quality of a movie. For example, and I'll keep this very brief because I want to stay on topic, but the Three Ninjas movies, love them to pieces. They are awful films, like absolutely awful. Like it's so bad it's fun for me to watch. Muppet Treasure Island, though, the jokes are actually jokes. Like Three Ninjas jokes aren't jokes. They try to be, but they're not. This is actually like jokes between the pirate, the pirate names, between the fourth wall breaking, between all the callbacks that they use. They use callbacks throughout the entire movie through various jokes, which is I really enjoy. I think the humor honestly still holds up really well. Maybe, at least in my opinion, I think it keeps a fun atmosphere throughout the whole movie. And honestly, I feel like people just look for things that are fun now because everything's so heavy, both in the real world and in a lot of the media we watch. And it's the Muppets, man. Like they're always fun. And I guess the last thing is just that the surprising amount of depth you get from the Long John and Jim stuff. I know I was talking about it a lot. I think the reason it sticks out to me so much is the rest of the movie is so silly. And normally something that sticks out like this, I don't think should work, but it does, in my opinion. I think that's why it holds up so well for the people who like it, because, and maybe even people who didn't grow up with it. It's because the jokes still hold up. The story is a good structure. It's nothing groundbreaking, because if you know the Treasure Island story, you know it. But the story is a good structure. The production design and everything is so high quality. The little throwaway jokes, just the fourth wall breaking, just everything about it. I think it really still holds up for all of that and more. And I'm being a little hyperbolic with how I'm speaking about it, but I really still enjoy this movie.
Well, I mean, your love for it clearly comes through. I mean, it's obvious why you picked it for this podcast. I just love the Muppets. I always have, and I love what they represent. And Muppets doing Treasure Island is an obvious choice. Kind of the Muppets doing anything, I can watch. There is a Muppety version of anything out there. I like the Muppets doing more original things too, but these adaptations are great. And they just know, like I said, they know the Muppet formula so well. and it's so good natured and silly, and yet you want to hug these characters. Like they created some. Jim Henson just was a magician and kind of a once in a lifetime talent. And so you see what he created with this, and like I hope the Muppets continue to be around forever, because I like so many other cartoon franchises. When I would lump this in with cartoons, even though they're physical puppets, that the world kind of needs a lot of Jim Henson, especially the darker it gets, the more you need that. Like I will get emotional listening to Rainbow Connection, because I think that's just a powerful song delivered.
It's a great song.
It's an incredible song, and what it represents is just so universal and special that any Muppet thing will be, even the worst Muppet thing is just delight. Like it's just a breezy, joyful thing to experience. So I'm really glad you brought this to me, because I did have a lot of fun with it, and I hope to do more Muppet stuff on this podcast, hopefully in the future, because it's fun for all ages. What else can I say? It's the Muppets. So, Josh, if people want to find your stuff, where do they find it?
Well, you can find it a couple places. And real quick, I said I would say my favorite song for the movie.
Oh yes, I forgot. Yes, what is your favorite song for the movie?
It is the opening track it's my favorite song. I enjoy. It's so piratey. It's so fun. It's the opening track, but I won't dwell on it. We've talked about the movie a ton.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for sea shanties. I was gonna say I'm a sucker for sea shanties, which is I'm a weirdo that way, but whatever. Yes, go on. So it's yes. Where can people find your awesome stuff?
So you can find Still Loading on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. You can also find me on social media at Still Loading Pod on pretty much every social media app that I'm on. If I'm not on it, then if there's no at Still Loading Pod, then I'm not on it. So Facebook, Twitter. F the guy who runs it now. It's Twitter. I don't care what it's called now. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Hive, BlueSky, Twitch, all that good stuff, and at Still Loading Pod on YouTube. So you can find me all those places, and if you like video games and you want to learn about video game history and all the stuff I mentioned before, check it out on all those places. So yeah.
Awesome, and I would encourage everybody to do that, because you put out good stuff. And if you want to find our stuff, we are also on the socials. You can find us on, I'm not going to call it Twitter either. Let's just call it 10, because that makes more sense than X. So we're there at NostalgiumPod. We are on Threads now. Look for Nostalgium Arcanum, or on Instagram. Please do follow us at the Instagram spot, because that's where I've been posting all of our bonus stuff every week. So look for us there. And if you have thoughts on this episode or our recent ones, which include, let me think, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Doom, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit were the last few. Coming up next is Batman 89, which I'm super stoked to talk about. I've been hoping to do an episode on that for a long, long time. After that, I'm not sure. I'm getting a little ahead of the recording schedule, so I think we're going to do one on Clueless. So that'll be fun too. So look forward to that. And Josh, thanks again for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
All right. Until next time, that is one more entry in the Nostalgium Arcanum.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!
I like to keep it a surprise. You know that.
Yes!
Rich knows this about me. It's about the prestige. The prestige.
I dare you to duet with me.
Oh, we got one coming. And I did not sign up for it. Why are there so many things about rainbows? And what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions.
We got one, and if you think about it, you can guess what it is.
Illusions. And rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know we're wrong. Wait and see.
I think you can do a whole song with that voice.
real simpatico, you know?
Who said that every wish would be kind and answered, and you stop a boy wouldn't stop? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far.
What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see?
Someday we'll find it. No connection.
Swedish All of us under its spell. We know that it's probably bad. Have you been half asleep? And have you heard voices? I heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to